Have you ever wondered how one of the greatest migrations in human history occurred in the span of mere months? Today, we delve into the events that led to the partition of India and Pakistan in 1947, a significant event that shaped the lives of millions and left a complex legacy. The story begins in August 1947. After 300 years in India, the British finally departed, leaving behind two independent nation-states, the Hindu-majority India and the Muslim-majority Pakistan. This moment sparked an unprecedented migration. Millions of Muslims moved to West and East Pakistan, now known as Bangladesh, while millions of Hindus and Sikhs journeyed in the opposite direction. The scale of this human movement was astounding, with many hundreds of thousands never reaching their destinations. Communities that had coexisted for almost a millennium suddenly turned on each other, resulting in a terrifying outbreak of sectarian violence. Hindus and Sikhs on one side, Muslims on the other, each engaged in a mutual genocide. The provinces of Punjab and Bengal, which bordered India's newly formed boundaries with West and East Pakistan, witnessed the most intense violence. Massacres, arson, forced conversions, mass abductions, and savage sexual violence became commonplace. An estimated 75,000 women were subjected to rape, many of whom were then horrifically disfigured or dismembered. Such brutalities were not unlike those witnessed in Nazi death camps. Pregnant women had their breasts cut off, babies were forcibly removed from their bellies, and infants were found roasted on spits. By 1948, as the Great Migration came to a close, more than 15 million people had been displaced, and between 1 and 2 million were dead. The partition, much like the Holocaust for the Jewish community, became central to the identity of the people of the Indian subcontinent. It was branded painfully onto the regional consciousness by memories of almost unimaginable violence. The acclaimed Pakistani historian Aisha Jalal calls partition the central historical event in 20th century South Asia, influencing how the peoples and states of post-colonial South Asia envisaged their past, present, and future. Ironically, Britain's exit from India was relatively peaceful from the perspective of the colonizers. The British Army was able to march out of the country with barely a shot fired and only 7 casualties. What they left in their wake, however, was a ferocity of bloodshed that no one anticipated. Now, how did India's deeply intermixed and profoundly syncretic culture unravel so quickly? The polarization of Hindus and Muslims occurred during just a couple of decades of the 20th century. By the middle of the century, the divide was so complete that many on both sides believed that it was impossible to coexist. To summarize, the partition of India and Pakistan in 1947 was a monumental event that led to one of the greatest migrations in human history. The departure of the British left behind two independent nations and sparked a terrifying outbreak of sectarian violence. This period branded painful memories onto the regional consciousness and heavily influenced the identities of the people of the Indian subcontinent. The question of how such a deeply intermixed culture could unravel so rapidly remains a topic of vast literature and study. This partition continues to influence the past, present, and future of post-colonial South Asia. The events of the partition serve as a stark reminder of the complex legacy of colonialism and the profound impacts of political decisions on the lives of millions. It is a chapter of history that we must never forget, for it holds lessons that are just as relevant today, lessons about coexistence, tolerance, and the human cost of division.